In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to get control back in a sales call, specifically once you get to objection handling. What a lot of sales trainers will teach you is you should never lose control in a sales call, and if you do, you completely messed up. And this is exactly what you have to say to never lose control in a sales call. And while that's great, and there is a lot of truth to it, it's sales, and you cannot control what the prospect thinks. You cannot control what the prospect does, and there will be times when you do lose control in a sales call. So this video is going to really be breaking down how to get control back to eventually close the deal. Because if you lose control and you don't get it back, you're not going to close the deal. All right, my name is Mike Antiles. I have been a high-ticket closer for the past 2.5 years. Over the course of the past 2.5 years, I have closed just over $5 million in cash. Unlike most other sales trainers out there, I am still in the weeds. I am still a high-ticket closer, all right? And yeah, so and this YouTube video, it's really dedicated to showing you exactly the specific tactics that I have used to close over $5 million of cash in the past 2.5 years, and really the mindset that I have implemented to be able to do so. All right, yes, the tactics are important, but what's more important is the mindset, because with sales, if you don't understand the mindset behind it, if you don't understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, then it's going to come out incorrectly, and you're not going to make any sales. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so how to not lose control or how to get back control while you are handling objections. All right, so the specific, and this can apply to plenty of different scenarios, but I do find it helpful to just look at one specific scenario to really understand it as best possible. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take a financial objection that maybe does have a little bit of fear implanted into it. All right, because it's not always cut crystal clear. A lot of people will tell you it's always cut crystal clear. You have this objection handled this way, but it's not always crystal clear. All right, so let's jump right into it. All right, so you have on the surface what appears to be a financial-based objection. All right. You have on the surface what appears to be a financial-based objection. Right, so the first thing that you're going to do is isolate the objection. All right, you isolate. I have other videos explaining exactly how to do that, so I'm not going to get into this right now. First thing you do is isolate the objection. Then eventually you get into payment plans. I'm not going into the weeds of actually how to do that because I have other videos explaining that. All right, so you get into payment plans, and when you're getting into payment plans, what we always will shoot for and what should happen is you give them the payment plan and then they agree to it, right? If you do it properly, that will work, all right? Sometimes it goes sideways a little bit, all right? So what happens here is you're going to lose a little bit of control, and then the prospect asks for a specific payment plan, all right? We don't want the prospect asking for a specific payment plan because, again, that's them taking control of the sales call. Now, we don't want it happening, but it does happen. All right, so you have a few different options when that happens. All right, let's say first off that it's not an acceptable payment plan. Let's say your program is $8,000 and they ask to get started for just $1,000 and you can't accept that. Okay, well, you have to figure out a way of asking them to increase the initial payment. If you just ask them, can you do $3,000, then they might say yes, they might say no, and you might lose it. All right, so that's not what we want to do. Let's say that it is an acceptable payment plan. All right, if it is an acceptable payment plan, you have a few different options. One option is ask them to increase the initial payment, and in that scenario, they might say yes, they might say no. They will probably say no, all right, especially if there is a little bit of fear implanted into this, and just a quick hint, 90% of the time there is going to be fear, right? If someone's paying $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, there will be a little bit of fear, right, even less than that. All right, so you have another option. The other option is it's an acceptable payment plan. Let's say it's an $8,000 program and they want to get started for $3,000 down. Okay, well, if you can accept that, immediately agree. That might work. It might work. Maybe you have a 20% chance of the prospect saying, okay, let's do that. Let's get started. But from what I've seen, you have about an 80% chance of the prospect telling you, okay, awesome, that sounds good. Let me just sleep about it or think about it, whatever it may be. All right. This is a scenario where if they are asking you to get started for a specific payment plan, then you should 100% be able to close them. But if you just immediately agree, what it does to them mentally is it tells them, okay, well, I can just walk all over the salesperson Maybe there's a better deal that I can get. And plus, like, he's not even doing me a big favor. All right, so I don't have to do him the favor of getting started with this right now because he's not doing me a big favor. He can do that no problem. All right, so usually they will say, I want to sleep out and think about it, and then there's a good chance that you are going to lose the deal. All right, so this one, don't do it. Never do this because you don't want these odds. These odds are terrible. All right, the next option is to use a short reframe to make sure that they really know that you want to help them. All right, use a short reframe to pretty much get on the same side of the table as them, to change it from a negotiation to I want to help you out. Right, what that might look like is prospect says I want to get started for $3K, and then chunk up the rest over the course of the next 2 months, whatever it may be. All right, so prospect says I want to get started for $3K. So John, the thing is, when you come in and work with us, we're really, like, we're rolling up the sleeves and we're in the trenches doing this with you. Like, it's our obligation to make sure that you are successful with this. All right? So dude, let's do it. Let's get you started today for just the $3K because I want to help you. I want to see you win. Ready to get started on some homework, and then you go ahead and get their card information. All right? If you do this, you probably have, I have here 50-50, 50% chance of the prospect saying he's going to move forward, and 50% chance of sleep on it, think about it, whatever it may be. It might be 40-60, 60% chance of them saying they want to think about it, but it's somewhere around the 50-50 range. All right? Yes, you're doing a good thing here. You're getting on the same side of the table, and you're making sure that they know that you want to really, that you're doing this because you want to help them, but I still don't want these odds. Right? When someone is asking me for a specific payment plan, that's a sign that they do want to buy, and we have to get them to close. All right? So 50-50 chance, that's not good. Again, if you do this, it'll work sometimes, but you want it to work almost 100% of the time. All right? So then you have a third option. The third option is to tell them a powerful story. All right? Tell them a powerful story. A lot of sales trainers talk about, there's a book called Story Selling, right? A lot of trainers will talk about how if you know how to tell a story properly, if you know the right stories to tell, then you will close tons of deals, and no one actually teaches you how to do it. All right? If you tell a powerful story to really get them on the same page as you, number one, you have a 95% chance of the prospect agreeing to move forward and only a 5% chance of the prospect telling you want to think about it. But the other thing that happens here is you can get them to increase the payment plan, right? Because even if it is an acceptable payment plan, I'd rather them pay me $4K instead of $3K, right? And I think you all would also. All right, so what do I mean by telling a powerful story? Well, even before I tell you which story I like to use, and there has to be a variety of stories that you use because every situation is different. I first want you to understand, right, there's the point of telling the story is to, number one, make sure that we get on the same side of the table as them, but also just reframe their whole way of thinking about it. All right, so the story I'm going to tell you, this is a story that I use very frequently and has probably, it's closed me tons of cash. Number one, it's specific to me, right? So I want to make sure you know, like, the stories that you use, if this story works for you, fantastic. My story won't necessarily work for you because it has to be authentic. You have to actually relate to it because the prospect will see right through it if you're just reading off a script. All right, so this specific story that I'm going to show you right here, it works incredibly well when there is a little bit of fear with the prospect moving forward. Right? There is some fear. Maybe he does 100% need a payment plan to get started, but maybe he doesn't. Right? Maybe there's a chance that he doesn't need a payment plan to get started, but like he's already made it very clear to you, I am not paying $8,000 today. Like, it's not happening. Right? What some sales trainers will tell you is if they have the credit limit or if they have the cash, they better pay in full, otherwise that's a failure. I 100% disagree with that. I've seen so many salespeople lose tons of deals because they're not willing to budge and not willing to make a payment plan. All right, so this is a story that you can use to properly budge and make a payment plan and to even get them to increase the payment plan that they already suggested. All right, so here's the one that I use. Right? So I always tell them, I don't hide it, brother, I'm Jewish. Have you heard the story of Passover before? I don't know if you guys have, but then I always go ahead and explain it. Okay, so the story of Passover, the story of the Exodus of when the Jews left Egypt, So essentially the Jews were slaves in Egypt for around 300-400 years. And obviously they're slaves, their lives are terrible. All right, and eventually, Moses comes up. He was raised pretty much as an Egyptian family, but he was Jewish. And it eventually comes time for the Jews to leave Egypt. And Pharaoh, Pharaoh obviously doesn't want to let the Jews go. He has all these slaves doing all this work for him. He doesn't want to let the Jews go. Moses asks Pharaoh to let the Jews go. Pharaoh says no. And then what happens next is there's the 10 plagues, right? So these are 10 plagues that God inflicted upon the Egyptians. And the last of the 10 plagues is that every single firstborn Egyptian died. Every single firstborn Egyptian died. And then after that happened, Moses goes to Pharaoh and asks Pharaoh to let the Jews go for just 3 days. Okay, now that's bizarre. That is completely bizarre. Think about how terrible that is. Every single firstborn Egyptian died, followed by 9 other plagues before that, and all he asks for is 3 days. He could have asked for whatever he wanted. Why did he only ask for 3 days? Now, before I tell you that, what Egyptian represented for the Jews, right, it was slavery. They had been there for 300-400 years. It was slavery. It was suffering. But what it also represented was their comfort zone. It represented their comfort zone, right? And no matter who we are as human beings, it is always incredibly difficult. It sucks to get out of our comfort zone, right? And then go ahead and relate it to their specific situation. Let's say they're at a job that they hate. That job that you're in right now, that's your comfort zone. And it is tough to make a move to eventually be able to get out of your job. Or they're trying to lose weight. And right now, the weight that you're at right now, your bad diet, that's your comfort zone. And it is going to suck to get out of your comfort zone. Right? So when Moses asked Pharaoh to only let the Jews go for 3 days, that was for the Jews. It was not for Pharaoh. Pharaoh would have said yes to letting them go forever. He would have said yes to way more than that. But it was for the Jews, because if Moses went to the Jews and said to the Jews, you're leaving the place of your slavery, but the place of your comfort zone forever, they would have said no. All right, so here's what I'm going to do for you, brother. All right, I want to help you get out of your comfort zone. I want us to get out of this slavery right here. All right, so let's let you in today for just the initial 3K, 4K. You tell them what their payment plan is, and then from there, brother, you'll see this start working for you. You'll start losing the weight, and 30 days from now, the only regret you'll have is that you didn't get started with this further. All right, brother, how does that sound to you? Or if that's something I'm willing to do for you, brother, would you be willing to get started with this today? Right, so you see how powerful that story is. I'm not rushing through it, and it really helps the person understand, okay, this is why the payment plan is good for me. All right, and when you do that, I put here 95% chance I've never had that not work for me. All right, so if you do that properly, if you have a story that you really relate to and that you can tell properly, you will close so many more deals, and it will be incredibly, incredibly powerful. All right, I hope you got a lot out of that video. If you're wondering a little bit more how to do this specifically for what you sell, then I left a link in the description of this video below. You can go ahead and book a call with me, and we can look at a little bit more what it's like to work with me one-on-one. I do specific call reviews to really help you increase your sales. I mean, if right now you're making $10,000 a month, I can help you get to 20, 25, and 30. If you're making $20K a month, I can help you get to 30, 40, 50K a month. All right, so if you like this video, if you want to work with me one-on-one, or if you're even just a little bit curious about what that looks like, go ahead and fill out an application to speak with me one-on-one. And if you like this video, go ahead and click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the little bell so you get a notification anytime I release a new video. And I will see you on the next one.